Okay. Donc, bienvenue, merci d'être venu tout le monde. Thank you for coming to another session of French 101 online. And this will be definitely a review for anyone who was at our last in-person session way back in the other world. And it will probably be a review anyway, since again, we're covering very basic topics. Just to kind of drill those home, we've done pronouns, we've done articles. Did we do pronouns? We did articles, I don't remember what we did, but we've done very basic stuff. And so we continue with the basic stuff today with ER verbs. So, make sure I got my clicker here. All right, so making sure we're all on the same page about what verbs are. Of course, verbs are action words. They express what people or things do or are. I walk, you speak, he eats, she dances, he plays an instrument, etc. Or I am, you are, they seem, all these kinds of things. Doing and being. So verbs in all languages have certain characteristics. They all have a base form, which is called the infinitive. And in English, our infinitives are formed with the word to in front of the verb. To be, to walk, to speak. That's the basic form of the verb. And then the infinitive changes based on who's speaking, who or what is performing the action, which is known as the person, when the action takes place, which is known as tense, and sometimes other information that shifts the meaning based on the intent or position of the speaker, and that's mood. And all of these changes are called conjugation. The act of conjugation is changing a verb from the infinitive to fit the right person, tense, and mood. English is a very low conjugation language. You also call it, as a verb changes, it's also called, you can call it declension. It's a low declension language. You can tell from our infinitives to speak. That doesn't change very much when you switch from I to you to he, she, we, they. It's I speak, you speak, he speaks. So there's a little change there, but not much, and not much of that internal structure of the infinitive has changed. Some of them are a little more irregular. To be becomes I am, you are, he, she is, etc. Others, but largely the English verbs are very constant. French verbs, not so much. French verbs change a lot. So French verbs separate into different groups based on the spelling of the infinitive and the forms that they take during conjugation. And the linguistic division between the verbs, the linguists got together and decided what the different categories of verbs are. They split them into group 1, group 2, and group 3. I have my own way of thinking that maybe other people also do, but I think of them as based on their endings. ER verbs, IR verbs, RE verbs, and irregular verbs. My way is probably less helpful when you dig into like actual linguistics and stuff. There are probably really good reasons why actual language scientists do the group 1, 2, and 3 thing. But for our purposes, I think it's simple enough to say that they are the ER verbs, the IR verbs, and the RE verbs, and irregular verbs. So today we're talking about ER verbs, and what are some characteristics of ER verbs, all these verbs that in the infinitive form end in ER. They are the most numerous family of verbs in French, very, very common, essential verbs, and they're the actions of daily life by and large. Speaking, eating, walking, loving, lots of different interactions, basic actions that we take as humans. So parler, manger, marcher, aimer. These are all basic ER verbs. So Conjugating ER verbs to change it from the infinitive ER into the each. Well, we're dealing with the present tense. We're not going to get into different tenses or moods. So to change the ER verbs into present tense, all ER verbs follow this pattern except aller. Aller is an irregular verb that just happens to end in ER. That means to go. It changes. A lot of times you find those extremely essential verbs, the ones that do a lot of the heavy lifting in a language, are highly irregular. So like parler really just means one thing, so it doesn't change very much. Aller, to go, yeah, it just means to go, but it gets used in a lot of different ways. It gets used in a lot of idiomatic ways, and it serves various functions linguistically. So verbs like that, to be, to do, all that kind of thing, to have, since they get used so much and they have so much variety of meaning, those are the ones that over hundreds and hundreds of years tend to pick up irregularity. So that's why verbs like aller don't fit into one of these regular categories. But your irregular ER verb, you're going to change like this. So parler is the infinitive. Je parle. You drop off the ER and you add an E. Tu parles. Drop off the ER, add ES. Il, elle, on parle. Drop off the ER, add an E. Je parle, tu parles, il parle, elle parle, on parle. All pronounced the exact same way. I speak, you speak, he speaks, she speaks, one speaks. Then we have nous parlons. Drop off the ER and add ONS. Nous parlons, we speak. Vous parlez. Drop off the ER, add EZ. Vous parlez. That's both plural you all speak, and also formal you singular. So me talking to my professor, vous parlez. Me talking to a respected elder or superior, vous parlez. And il or elle parle, they speak. Drop off the ER, add ENT. ENT is silent at the end of any verb that ends in ENT. The ENT is silent. Il parle, elle parle. So, je parle, tu parles, il, elle, on parle, nous parlons, vous parlez, il, elle parle. So that is sort of the verb that everybody starts with. Now, there are slight variations even within the regularity of ER verbs. This all has to do with maintaining proper pronunciation of letters that change depending on what follows them. And I've just looked out the window, and il neige. Est-ce qu'il neige là où vous êtes? Is it snowing where you all are? Probably. How shocking. But that's another ER verb, neiger. Il neige. It's snowing. Okay, but verbs like manger. All right, so far so good. Je mange, tu manges, il, elle, on mange, all the same. Here's where we run into trouble. Nous mangeons. For nous mangeons, the nous form, we eat, you have to insert an extra E before the ONS. Normally you drop the ER, you add the ending. So it would, if this were a normal verb, it would be MANGONS. The problem with that is when G is followed by an O, just linguistically, it's a hard G. So it would be mangon. And that's not how it's pronounced. So in order for the spelling to match the sound that's coming out of the French people's mouths, they add that E because the E softens the G and makes it J. So it stays nous mangeons. That's the only reason that E is there. They have to throw it in there. So any verb where the stem, that part that comes before the ER infinitive ending, anytime you have a G right there, you're going to have to add an E in the new form. And in fact, neiger, il neige, is one of those verbs that would. Il neige is a weird verb where it never really, you never say we snow, it's not a thing. But if by whatever weird circumstance you're writing a fantasy novel about people who snow, you would have to do the same thing with neiger because it has a G. But then we go back to normal. Vous mangez, il, elle mange. Okay, hopefully that is clear enough. We have another weird one, commencer, to begin. Again, it starts off normal enough. Je commence, tu commences, il, elle, on commence. But again, we run into trouble in the new form. And I know with the underline, it looks a little bit weird, but that's the C has added the cédille, the accent cédille, to keep the C soft. Because when a C is followed by E, it's a nice soft C sound. Usually when a C is followed by O, that hardens up the C. So this would be pronounced nous commençons. But again, the verb is commencer. It's a soft C. So they insert the cédille to preserve the soft C. Nous commençons. And then back to normal. Vous commencez, il, elle commence. So those are two to watch out for whenever, and this is important really if you're writing French. If you're speaking French and you're confident in all of these verbs, you're gonna know that commencer and manger, it's a soft C and a soft G. So you're not gonna get that wrong when you're speaking. It's when you're reading and writing that you look at it and you have to know it has to stay soft, so I have to do a little something extra. So those are the two big categories of deviations, even in the regular ER. Look at the rest of it though, everything else stays regular. You don't change anything about the ONS, EZ, ENT endings. So a little strangeness, but still a regular verb. There are some other oddities that are a little less easy to keep in mind because it's not about, that hard G to soft G, hard C to soft C difference is really obvious to us. These are a little bit different, still for the same reason that just in French orthography, French spelling, certain letters work in one combination and not in another. So in these cases, you have a verb like appeler, to call, which has one L in the stem. You add a second L when you are conjugating it. And that's just because to the French eye, having ELE like that looks odd and incorrect. So they add two L's to maintain the look. Same thing with jette in the il, elle plural form. It only has one T in the stem, but in order to preserve French spelling normalcy, they double up the T. And jeter means to throw, if you're interested. I don't know anything about baseball, but maybe Derek Jeter throws stuff. So that's a way you might be able to remember that verb. I don't know. If he doesn't throw stuff, then that doesn't help at all. Then you've got the verb envoyer, which means to send. And you see in the stem, it's got a Y. And that can stick around in a lot of places, but when you are changing it to a form that ends in E or ES or ENT, it has to change to an I. Again, that's just French spelling. Envoie has to be spelled that way. In the nous and the vous form, it stays a Y. Nous envoyons, nous envoyer. That's just the way it is. It's because if that Y sound were the end of a syllable, you can't say j'envoie. The French don't say that, so it becomes j'envoie. And répéter, to repeat. You switch the vowel sound in that second syllable, répète. And if we remember from our French pronunciation a few weeks ago, this just kind of closes it from répéter. It has to do with the where we are in a syllable. You don't have to indicate that accent when there's a full syllable after that vowel, but when that's the last syllable, the French just like to point out that it's not répète, it's répète. So these are all just ones to kind of watch out for. Others that look like them, anything where the infinitive resembles these endings, if it's an L-E-R, if it's a T-E-R, if it's got a Y, all that kind of thing, just kind of keep an eye out for. So I think that is basically our quick and dirty review of ER verbs, and I can send out materials for you to have on hand so you're not needing to refer to this video or anything. This doesn't apply to any of you because I know you all. If there had been new people here, they could email me so I can have their info, but I have all your info, so I will send out a review guide to everybody on my list, which includes all of you. But I will just take a moment to unmute you all and see if you have any questions. Jacques, do you have any questions?
No, merci.
All right, très bien. Jeanne, any questions from you?
No, merci.
Oh, très bien. And Melisse, any from you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. I know we all just covered this, but hopefully it's a good review, and you know, just drill those verbs home, because really this very basic present tense conjugation, it forms the foundation of every other verb form you're going to have to know. So it's very helpful to go over this time and time again. So I'll send out a couple of videos by Pierre, and I'll send out some Lawless French pages that you can have just kind of bookmarked for whenever you want to look at this stuff. And that'll be that. Okay, everybody happy?
Yes, that was
Yeah,
helpful.
thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
I will talk to you again soon, okay?
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All
Be
right.
well.
Oh, I see you waving, Melisse. Bye.
Very good, Alex. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Jacques. Thanks, John.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.